nobody thought the ocean was this deep. So all of a sudden we've got scientists saying, why is that?
More than 6 miles beneath the ocean's surface lies the Mariana Trench, a world of crushing pressure, freezing temperatures, and total darkness. Scientists once believed nothing could survive there. But new deep-sea footage has completely changed that belief. Hidden in the abyss are thriving ecosystems filled with strange creatures adapting in ways no one expected. In a place where sunlight never reaches, life still finds a way. And what's living at the bottom of the Mariana Trench may completely change how we understand the limits of life on Earth. The Hadal Zone's hidden life. Beneath the waves of the western Pacific Ocean lies one of the least understood and most extreme environments on Earth, the Hadal Zone. This deep layer, located below 6,000 meters, plunges into a world of crushing pressure, near freezing temperatures, and complete darkness. For years, scientists assumed this region was a barren desert, a vast expanse where life struggled to survive and barely persisted. Yet, recent advances have completely reshaped that view, revealing a vibrant ecosystem bustling with unexpected activity. The Mariana Trench, reaching nearly 11,000 meters at its deepest, stands as the most extreme example of this environment. With pressures exceeding 1,000 atmospheres, more than 1,000 times what we experience at sea level, this abyss presents conditions that would obliterate most known life. The constant absence of light and the reliance on organic matter falling from the surface painted a grim picture for decades. Biologists thought that only a few hardy scavengers eked out an existence, feeding on ghostly rains of marine snow. But footage from the past 10 years challenges this bleak assumption. Cameras placed on the seafloor now capture numerous creatures arriving swiftly and decisively at sources of food, displaying surprisingly high metabolic rates given the extreme cold and pressure. Rather than sluggish survival, these organisms exhibit energetic foraging and interactions. The Hadal Zone, once considered a slow, sparse wasteland, is actually teeming with life. The deepest regions of the ocean near the Hadal Zone support their most powerful creatures because amphipods inhabit these depths as their primary species. The group of organisms arrives at the bait materials, which they proceed to destroy within the first few minutes of their arrival. The organisms active in this area perform more than their expected duties because they have developed a way to use any available food source. The existence of this organism demonstrates that an ecosystem exists that maintains its complex system through dynamic challenges. Life in the Hadal Zone exists beyond its expected boundaries. Sea cucumbers move slowly across the ocean floor as they consume organic material, while microbial mats create a living layer that covers both rocks and the seabed. The giant single-celled organism Xenophyophore creates complex test structures which contribute to the biological variety of its species. The Hadal Zone contains multiple environmental zones which enable native organisms to thrive in their natural habitats. The discovery brings new insights into deep ocean ecosystems. Life has developed ways to survive because organisms learned to thrive in extremely high-pressure environments that lacked sufficient resources. The fundamental inquiry investigates which metabolic pathways sustain the creatures. The creatures depend on biological advancements that enable them to survive without access to sunlight and nutrients, which only exist at the ocean's surface. The discovery invites scientists to rethink the concept of resilience, which allows organisms to overcome challenges. The organisms of the deep ocean create a new story that shows how life exists in rich ecosystems that operate silently throughout the undersea world. The Hadal Zone exists as a vibrant ecosystem that actively demonstrates biological processes that scientists have yet to fully understand. Yet, this was just the beginning. To appreciate how radically this knowledge has changed, we need to look back at the history of exploration and the challenges that prevented us from seeing this hidden world until recently. Decades of exploration challenges. Exploring the Mariana Trench and the wider Hadal Zone has been a monumental challenge since it was first measured by the British survey ship Challenger in 1875. Early attempts relied on rough soundings, offering little insight into what might actually dwell in those crushing depths. It wasn't until 1960 that humans first reached the bottom in the bathyscaphe Trieste, but even then, the observation window was limited. Jacques Piccard and Don Walsh spent about 20 minutes on the seabed, mostly obscured by sediment stirred during landing and constrained by dim lighting. Following that historic dive, no human returned for more than 5 decades. The engineering hurdles of building vessels capable of withstanding over 1,000 atmospheres of pressure were immense. Most early unmanned submersibles and remotely operated vehicles, ROVs, simply couldn't survive the descent or function effectively at Hadal depths. The Japanese R-Deep ROV of Kaiko managed to reach the trench floor in 1995, but was lost 8 years later. The American hybrid ROV Nereus briefly continued exploration, but imploded in 2014. These tragic losses highlighted the brutal environment's unforgiving nature. Because of these technological limits, biological observations were painfully sparse. The accepted assumption that the Hadal Zone was close to lifeless was less a scientific conclusion and more an inference built on almost no direct data. Without sustained observation, theories about slow food, minimal energy input, and limited life remained unsubstantiated but uncontested. The physics of the abyss seemed to support this grim outlook. The early 2000s witnessed a shift in this approach when researchers introduced new strategic methods. Researchers started to incorporate landers that functioned as basic yet dependable systems instead of using complex submersibles. The seafloor platforms dropped their weighted equipment, which included cameras, lights, and bait, before they returned to the surface after conducting hours or days of underwater filming. The method succeeded because it minimized the requirements of both manned and remotely operated vehicles, which used less pressure while extending their duration for scientific research. Deep trench ecosystems worldwide became the research sites that Alan Jameson used to establish his lander-based scientific method. The resulting footage brought a revolutionary development because it revealed extensive underwater life through its prolonged duration. The Hadal Zone transformed into an active ecosystem which scientists could study because all organisms present in that environment. Researchers discovered new ways to observe scientific activities because their combination of technological breakthroughs and innovative research techniques succeeded in creating continuous analysis systems. Researchers obtained extended access to study animal behavior, social connections, and ecosystem organization that exists in extreme ocean depths that lie beyond the reach of sunlight. People who explored the depths of the Hadal Zone discovered its hidden secrets about deep underwater ecosystems. Scientists established that they must change their understanding of biological abundance because their new findings demonstrated existing life forms throughout their research area. The Hadal Zone, which scientists had considered almost uninhabited territory, developed into a dynamic ecosystem that researchers needed to explore completely. Transitions often come from new perspectives or breakthroughs, and in this case, the use of landers opened the floodgates to unprecedented biological insights. Breakthroughs with landers. The introduction of baited landers revolutionized deep-sea biology by capturing hours of continuous footage at Hadal depths, revealing a thriving benthic community that had been entirely hidden before. Unlike earlier brief visits by manned or robotic submersibles, landers could remain stationary on the seafloor, recording the arrival and activities of deep-sea creatures over extended periods. This method allowed researchers to witness the natural behaviors of organisms in ways never before possible. Within minutes of deployment, landers showed amphipods arriving en masse, quickly swarming bait with voracious energy. These amphipods, now recognized as the dominant scavengers of the Hadal zone, vary in size, some reaching nearly 30 centimeters long, and exhibit metabolic rates that defy expectations for such an extreme environment. Rather than conserving energy in a scarce setting, they were actively feeding, competing, and moving with surprising speed and force. The footage also documented a complex community beyond amphipods. Sea cucumbers, polycate worms, and other benthic organisms appeared, highlighting interactions and ecological dynamics. These were not isolated survivors, but parts of an integrated ecosystem adapting to the trench's extreme conditions. Microbial mats and large xenophyophores added to the biological richness, suggesting diverse life forms from single-cell giants to more familiar invertebrates. These observations challenged the long-held belief that the trench floor supported only minimal life due to limited food supply. Instead, the Hadal zone emerged as a hotspot of biological activity fueled by periodic inputs of organic matter. Researchers began to understand that food arrives not only as slow-drifting marine snow, but also in pulses from large carcasses and seasonal blooms, creating boom-and-bust feeding patterns for trench dwellers. By capturing such detailed visuals, landers confirmed behaviors previously unimaginable at these depths: feeding frenzies, predator-prey interactions, and extensive scavenging. This information transformed how scientists viewed the limits of life, emphasizing adaptability and resilience more than starvation and stasis. The success of landers paved the way for identifying new species, including bizarre snailfish adapted to life near the trench's deepest points. These discoveries underscored that Hadal life was not just surviving, but evolving unique physiological traits. The Hadal ecosystem was a vibrant, evolving community, not a barren wasteland. As technology continues to improve, landers offer a window into the unknown realms of the deep ocean, where the unexpected thrives, and life defies all prior limits. Each breakthrough leads us closer to understanding not only the Mariana Trench, but the possibilities of life in Earth's most extreme environments and beyond. The record-breaking snailfish. The Mariana Trench holds its most surprising finding through research, which shows that scientists discovered a tiny transparent fish species that exists in deep water areas, which they believe to be unreachable by vertebrate creatures. Scientists have documented the Mariana snailfish, which scientists know as Pseudoliparus suirae, swimming in active mode at a depth of 8,100 meters. The depth reached by this species shows that scientists failed to discover the actual biochemical survival limit, which fishes can endure because of extreme pressure, that disrupts their cell structures and protein stability. The snailfish lacks the bulky, muscular form of typical fish, instead possessing a soft, gelatinous body that is well adapted to the crushing pressures and cold temperatures of the Hadal environment. Its delicate appearance belies an extraordinary physiology that stabilizes its proteins against pressure-induced denaturation. The fish uses trimethylamine N-oxide, or TMAO, as its main adaptation because this compound protects its cellular structures to let the fish survive in places where other species cannot exist. Researchers found that deep-sea fish species show increasing TMAO concentrations with their underwater depth, and Mariana snailfish maintains the highest TMAO measurement yet documented. The TMAO protective mechanism has a biochemical limit, which begins after TMAO reaches a specific concentration, which scientists studied between 8,200 and 8,400 meters. The snailfish lives at a distance from the boundary that defines vertebrate species, according to scientific understanding. The discovery of a vertebrate that resides at extreme ocean depths establishes new scientific boundaries and demonstrates the existence of life beyond previously known Earth limits. The research shows that fish can endure extreme underwater pressures, but scientists still need to identify which adaptations exist beyond current scientific comprehension. The tiny creature demonstrates evolutionary success because it thrives in environments where survival appears impossible. Scientists use the Mariana snailfish to study both the animal and the trench floor system, which contains limited yet complicated ecological relationships. This organism exists as both predator and prey within a fragile ecosystem, which maintains a balance between its lack of resources and its unexpected abundance of living creatures. The Hadal region functions as proof of active life, because this habitat contains organisms that have grown specialized traits to survive extreme pressure conditions and food scarcity. The researchers examined the Mariana snailfish life cycle, together with their feeding and reproductive behavior patterns, to study vertebrate survival in extreme environments. Scientists use the fish's special body structure to investigate how organisms develop molecular changes in response to intense pressure, which benefits both biotechnology work and evolutionary research. The trench ecosystem extends beyond snailfish to include multiple species, which range from amphipods to microbial communities that together sustain life in deep ocean environments. The existence of this biological boundary raises profound possibilities for life in similar extreme environments beyond Earth, where high pressure, cold, and darkness prevail. If such a fragile yet resilient fish thrives here, might life also exist beneath the ice-covered oceans of moons, like Europa or Enceladus? Ecosystem dynamics and food sources. Understanding how life sustains itself in the depths of the Mariana Trench involves unraveling the complex dynamics of food availability and energy flow in an environment that receives almost no sunlight. The traditional model posited that nearly all food energy in deep oceans comes from surface production, dead plankton, fish carcasses, and marine snow slowly drifting downward. By the time these materials reach the Hadal zone, most had decomposed or been consumed, suggesting scarce resources. However, newer studies reveal that food arrives in pulses rather than trickles. Large food falls, such as whale carcasses or extensive fish die-offs, can sink rapidly to the trench floor, creating temporary but abundant feasts for scavengers. Amphipods, known for their voracious feeding, exemplify a boom-and-bust lifestyle, lying dormant in lean times, then rapidly consuming resources when opportunity strikes. Moreover, the topography of deep trenches may funnel organic material from wide surface areas into narrow, deep basins, effectively concentrating food supply at the bottom. This sediment funneling increases the availability of nutrients compared to flat deep-sea plains at similar depths, supporting larger populations than previously expected. The ecosystem remains sustained through two processes, which include organic matter decomposition and microbial chemosynthesis. Bacterial communities in Hadal trenches use hydrogen sulfide, methane, and other compounds from crustal seepage to metabolize chemical energy, which they extract from sediment to produce biomass and fix carbon. The process establishes an alternative food web system that depends solely on deep-sea energy resources that exist without sunlight. Microbial mats create visible films that cover rock and sediment surfaces to establish habitats that provide food resources to various species. The giant xenophyophores represent the largest known single-celled organisms, which contribute both biomass and structural complexity to the benthic habitat. The elements work together to form a biological system that has developed unique features that enable it to survive in one of Earth's most extreme environments. The Mariana Trench shows active biological communities, which scientists have documented through filming during recent years, because it contains multiple microhabitats that support different species and ecological relationships. Life demonstrates energy and complexity through its operations, which depend on both organic matter entering from above and chemical processes occurring within the system. Ocean resilience studies have led scientists to develop a new understanding of deep ocean productivity through their research work. Hadal zones contain life, which maintains ecosystems through their metabolic activities, according to research findings. Scientists used to believe that the Hadal region functioned as a lifeless wasteland, but researchers discovered that it maintains a complex system which supports more life than scientists initially thought. When we consider the mechanisms that support such vibrant communities in darkness and under pressure, it opens a window onto how life's tenacity might manifest not just here on Earth, but also on other worlds, where conditions were once thought too extreme to harbor living systems. Implications for science and beyond. The discoveries from the Mariana Trench have profoundly shifted our understanding of life's resilience and adaptability under extreme conditions. As the deepest known habitat on Earth, the Hadal zone challenges many long-standing biological limits, showing us that life can thrive where breakdown of proteins and cellular structures was once thought inevitable. This has excited scientists because it broadens the definition of habitable environments, both here on Earth and potentially beyond. One of the most compelling implications is for the search for extraterrestrial life. Moons like Europa and Enceladus, orbiting Jupiter and Saturn, are believed to have vast oceans beneath their icy crusts, with conditions reminiscent of Earth's Hadal zones, dark, cold, and under immense pressure. The fact that complex ecosystems persist in the Mariana Trench supports the idea that life could exist in these alien oceans, not through mysterious forces, but as a natural product of evolutionary adaptation. Research on Hadal organisms in Earth-based studies establishes new biochemical discoveries that bring exciting potential for future research applications. The development of industrial processes that require high-stability maintenance during extreme operational conditions can utilize enzymes and proteins that show performance capabilities under extreme pressure and near-freezing temperatures. The specialized molecules will drive progress in pharmaceuticals, green chemistry, and biotechnology because they outperform synthetic materials through their natural properties. The genetic blueprints of Hadal creatures contain unique adaptations encoded in DNA, which function as an undiscovered collection of evolutionary developments. Scientists are only beginning to analyze this genetic material, which will lead to significant scientific breakthroughs about the molecular systems that maintain operational stability during extreme environmental conditions. This knowledge could inspire novel biomaterials and treatments for human diseases. Another concerning but important revelation is the presence of human-made pollutants in the deepest ocean trenches. Microplastics and debris have been found accumulating in Hadal sediments and even in the bodies of trench-dwelling creatures. The grim discovery shows how human activity creates environmental impacts that reach every area of the planet, which leads to urgent needs for conservation efforts and studies about how pollution affects distant ecosystems over time. The Schmidt Ocean Institute and JAMSTEC continue their research through ongoing expeditions, which expand scientific knowledge by providing systematic species identification and new life form discoveries. This research transforms oceanography and marine biology because it shows scientists that the ocean floor contains unknown marine species. Each dive, each lander deployment adds pieces to a puzzle that challenges us to rethink life's diversity and endurance. The Mariana Trench's deep-sea footage has rewritten the limits of life, revealing thriving ecosystems where none were expected. What was once thought to be a barren wasteland is a vibrant, complex world full of surprising adaptations and mysteries. If this glimpse into the abyss fascinated you, Don't forget to like and subscribe for more incredible discoveries hiding beneath our planet's surface. And don't surface just yet. Another unbelievable mystery is waiting in the next video appearing on your screen right now.